Welcome to Being Revealed with Stephanie and Alex. I'm Stephanie Cunningham.
I'm Alex Holtzapfel.
We started this podcast to talk about the journey of personal and spiritual growth, ours and others. Thanks for joining us as we figure things out together.
Welcome back.
Hey everyone. We're on the road again.
On the road, baseball. Baseball is life.
Baseball is life. We're on a break for a couple hours.
Well, more than it could be like a 6-8 hour break, depending.
It could be, but we're not going to know for a couple hours what our break is going to be. So here we are in the Kroger parking lot.
Bucyrus, Ohio.
The lovely, the gorgeous Bucyrus, Ohio. And today we're going to talk about
fear. I think fear is a good one. Like fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of change. What made me think of that, you're like, oh, try to think of a topic, and you got some big things getting ready to happen. It looks like you're about to open up your own wellness center.
Yeah.
In town. You still have to go meet with the zoning board. And for me, like, if I was doing that, I would be scared to death. And, fear of failure, like the what ifs, like, fear of change, fear of the unknown. And when you asked, to ask me to bring up a topic, that came to mind. It's like, I wonder what you're thinking about right now, if those things are going through there or how you're handling it, because I'm sure they are. But, dealing with fear is a good tool, like, to learn how to handle fear, know what's reasonable fear, know what's unreasonable. There's the whole false evidence appearing real. There's fuck everything and run.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, which is not a good. And then there's like face everything and recover. And there's probably a couple more.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Like,
well, so just, I would say, looking at it throughout my life, I think fear has been something that was very present. We talked a little bit about, just personally, we were talking about this earlier today. We were talking about being a sensitive person. And I'm a sensitive person. I've been one since 1977 when I popped out. So sensitive, excited, passionate too, right? So I'm one of those extroverted, highly sensitive people.
You are?
Yeah, you are. You didn't realize that? Oh, okay. Yeah. So 70% of highly sensitive people are more introverted, but there is about 30% who are extroverted. Well, the extroverted highly sensitive looks a little bit different than just a regular extroverted person.
Yeah.
Right. So we still have those needs of needing to recover and, having quiet time and things like that. But we do enjoy being out around people, and we get our energy from people. So that said, fear has always been something, I think it's been more of like a confidence thing for me, right? It's like, I know I can do things. I feel supported, but I have that fear of failure. Fear of failure and probably some fear of success has held me back from doing a lot of things in my life.
That's a good one, yeah.
Because I feel like there are aspects of both that I carry, right? Certainly fear of failure. I don't want to, if I start a business, for example, I don't want to have my family, ruined financially. I don't want to cause anyone and it's less about me and it's more about what am I going to do? What's the consequence on other people?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be a negative consequence or a burden. Yeah, I don't want to have a negative impact on someone else.
So it's not about like ego. It's not that your ego would take a hit, which it might, but it's more about how it's going to affect other people.
Yeah, always. Yeah. And then, so even if I'm like excited about something or I feel capable, that is the part that's going to hold me back.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, and then of course, success. How is that going to change my life? How is that going to, impact my relationships? How is it going to, am I going to be working all the time? I don't want to be working all the time. My dad had that experience where he worked constantly,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I don't want to have that same experience. I don't want Kyle to have that same experience. I don't want you to have that same experience, So there are just all these things that I like to HSP spiral on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But as far as in this moment, a lot of things are different for me now than, I'm almost 47 years old. Next month, this month, I'm going to be 47 years old.
A few days.
Few days. You're going to be 44 in a few days, too.
Me?
Yeah.
43.
43.
I'm like, wait a minute, that sounds older. No, I'll be 43.
43. Yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah.
So there are things in my life that just naturally I feel calmer about, or I feel like just the process of getting older.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you come to terms with things, or you lighten up a bit just by virtue of
experience,
mm-hmm. Experience, and just maybe it's even chemically too, your hormones and stuff. Mm-hmm. You don't have as much stuff running through you, but I don't know. That's not my area.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was going through the divorce and I was like, okay, I'm going to quit my job, my mm-hmm. full-time job, and start this full-time, I felt like I didn't have the burden of worrying if I was going to harm my family financially, mm-hmm. right? I kind of felt, and it was me and Kyle,
yeah,
right? But there was also a backup for Kyle too. He wasn't gonna, you know what I mean?
You didn't have to worry about someone else
sinking the whole ship.
Yeah, or being in your ear and downplaying what you're trying to do. It was just you, that you had to be responsible for, and Kyle, but it wasn't
yeah,
I
was responsible for the decision and, the failure or success of
mm-hmm.
it, And so that gave me some freedom in that moment.
Yeah.
Now's the time to try it,
mm-hmm.
So then I tried it and I thought, okay, and I've been doing it,
mm-hmm.
Since 2018 is when I went full time. So almost, it's 5.5 years actually, but, no, I guess 6 years. 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
But, so I've been doing it, and it's been what it's been. Some years have been better. Some years have been
mm-hmm.
worse, but I'm doing it. And, I've recognized that even though financially there's instability, obviously if you're an entrepreneur, there's going to be financial instability. Mm-hmm. But all in, I feel really good
mm-hmm.
about what I'm doing, and I enjoy it, and I'm excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
And, people are getting positive results from the experiences mm-hmm. they have with the services I offer. And it feels really purposeful and fulfilling on many levels.
Yeah.
And one of those is knowing that this is the work that I came here to do, and I'm doing it,
mm-hmm.
And that I released some sort of fear a few years ago and just said, screw it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it. I didn't want to get to the end of my life
and regret
not trying it.
So there was almost a sense of just letting go.
Yeah.
Or surrendering, I guess. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe more letting go.
And then there was still some fear, because of the center that I've been thinking about
mm-hmm.
has been on my mind. I saw the vision for it when I was 23, before I started doing any actual,
mm-hmm.
Work with it. And so, I let that incubate, and I still thought it was a far off venture.
Mm-hmm.
But when they told us in January that we were going to have to leave the space that I'm in now by May 31st, the first thing I felt was excitement.
Yeah.
Like, that's the first thing that popped in my head, that it's time to try this,
Mm-hmm.
time to do this. I'm in a situation now where, because of you, I have the confidence and the
support.
Yep, the support on varying levels to move forward with this.
Yeah.
And I have support from my family too, like my parents too, you know, but and my clients, and you know, I feel like this is a good time. So I have 6 years of confidence built up in what I do and what people, I know people want and are looking for. And I have you behind me who are saying, you know, even when it gets tough, you're like, you're not stopping. Come on. It's ridiculous. You know, I have you behind me who's supportive, who just supports what I do and supports the mission and supports, you know, and luckily you have a full-time job where, you know, it's not like I'm going to sink the ship if, you know, we move forward and something happens.
Yeah, it sounds like there might be more fear on my part. Like for me, like I might have more fear about it than you do. Yeah. And you might have some come up, but I feel like you're able to process that or move through it. With me, it's like I don't really have any control, and I'm someone who worries all the time, you know. And there's many different forms of fear. There's anxiety, there's insecurity, there's different little variations of it. Mine might come out because it's like it's lack of control or the unknown, like you don't know what's going to happen. But I feel like I've done pretty good at just accepting that whatever happens is supposed to happen, you know, and like this is the best chance to give this a try. And you don't really, in the business world, you don't really get anywhere without taking risks. So, and there's still fear there, but it's not like something that's like crippling or dominating. You know, I think a little bit of fear is healthy.
It is. And I didn't actually get there. Do I feel fear? Yeah. Yeah, I do feel fear. And I do feel the same fears. Like, even though like we have some stability around us, I still feel like I don't want to harm you. I don't want to harm Kyle in any way. Right? I feel that that's less likely to happen now. Yeah. Because I've had 6 years of experience of being afraid. So here's another thing. I have 6 years of experience of being afraid and doing it anyway. Yeah.
And that's kind of how, I don't want to say, oh, you just like take big risks and you'll be rewarded, but you almost have to, like, you can't let fear hold you back. You know, because then, like, say this opportunity came up and then all this fear just like kept you in a bubble and kept you from doing it. Then like years down the road, you might be kicking yourself and saying, I should have tried it at that point. You know, it's, you have, sometimes you have to force yourself, you have to take some risks, but you know, you got to figure out if the risks are worth it. You know, like in this case, what happens, say it doesn't work out, what's the worst thing that can happen? Your business goes bankrupt. It's like, how many...
I'm still alive.
Yeah.
I still have my family. I still have people who love me.
That was another thing. Skills that you can fall back on and do something else.
I still have skill. And I think that's another thing that for a long time, I thought I associated success with love.
Okay.
You know, love for myself obviously is the most, like that's the core of it. That's where it came from.
If you're not being successful, then I'm not lovable. Going to get people's love, or you're not worthy enough of their love. Yeah. That would be a good topic for later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So self-worth, my self-worth
Mm-hmm.
and my self-love have dramatically improved
Yeah.
over these last 6 years. That's been a huge
Mm-hmm.
thing too. Like, if I'm not afraid that if this fails, that you're not going to love me anymore,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
or that you're going to think less of me. I'm confident that you're not going
No,
to.
I mean, doesn't have any bearing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But this relationship has helped me heal that
Mm-hmm.
part of my wound, if you will.
Yeah.
Who knows where I came from? I had a lovely childhood. So I don't know where that came from. A past life, I guess. That's what open, honest relationships can do,
Mm-hmm.
is help heal fears and help people move forward confidently.
Well, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's, a good point, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
If
So,
you feel secure,
mm-hmm.
then you're more capable of facing a fear or taking a risk,
Mm-hmm.
or working through that fear,
Mm-hmm.
not making it irrational,
Mm-hmm.
Because how often do we turn a normal fear into an irrational fear?
All the time.
Yeah, so it just snowballs and snowballs. So.
Right, into this huge monster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of us are more susceptible to the monsters than others,
Mm-hmm.
or making them bigger monsters, I should
Yeah.
say. Your fear about this is maybe, well, it is different than mine. I mean, I'm still fearful, like, oh my gosh, what if this doesn't happen? What if nobody comes to these classes? What if nobody comes to anything?
Mm-hmm.
But and I'm going to have some other practitioners in
Mm-hmm.
the center as well. So there's still fear. I think that it would be, yeah, there's still fear. But I feel like I got to do this anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it's the feeling of I have to do this is bigger than I can't do this.
Yeah.
So what fears specifically do you have surrounding this project?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of thoughts. Like, financially, it is kind of like, well, what happens if it's not profitable? Or, which, it's not always, but you got to be able to make a profit.
Right.
Or you lose money. Or maybe, and then, which that's all financial stuff, and then it's like, well, how much are you going to be gone?
Yeah.
How much busier am I going to be? Like, taking care of Butters, taking care of Kyle, whatever. So there's stuff like that. It's just kind of like the what ifs and the unknowns.
Yeah.
But you just have to not look at it too much, not let it snowball, and just, because I am supportive of this, and just make it work, whether with the schedule and everything. We just have to find a way to make it work. But which we do. I mean, we do that.
Yeah.
Now, so
I feel that way too about the uncertainty of the schedule. What's the schedule going to look like, and how often am I going to be there versus how, when other practitioners are there. And there are times when Kyle can help out with that, and times I might be able to bring Butters in, so I think there are things that are uncertain that we just don't know yet, but I think we have the same vision of what we need to do from a schedule perspective, and we'll get it figured out.
Yeah, and that's the thing where, like, being someone who, like, is just always worrying or always thinking about every little outcome that could happen. I mean, there's a lot of anxiety, and that's the thing, is like worrying, like fear causes worry, and all worry, it's just because it's a way for yourself to control something that you don't have any control over.
Right.
So it's almost like you just kind of have to let go and not entertain it, because it's going to do is manifest negative emotions.
Yeah.
So that's something that I have to keep in mind, like, one, it's not happening yet, and two, it's like it will all work out how it's supposed to work out, So, yeah.
And we have the same goal.
Yeah.
So if we had a different, if I was like, I'm going to work 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's it. You'll have to just figure it out. But this is my main priority, and you were like, wait a minute, what about the life that we've created thus far? Those are two different, obviously those are two different ends of the spectrum. We're not there. We both have a structure that we like and feel is comfortable, and we can push it a little bit, especially at first, but we don't want to push it too far.
No.
I mean, it's a non-negotiable. Mental health and my family life are non-negotiables for, even if a day or two has to look different than what we're used to, for the foreseeable future. But it's a non-negotiable.
Yeah, and I think we would be like, we'd either be able to speak up or be like, hey, this is getting too much for me. I think we would respect that, and we try to find a way to make it work. But who knows what's going to happen? Those are,
I think that's the big thing right there when you said we'd both be able to kind of speak up. And when we have these big fears like that, the thing that helps the most is being able to communicate them.
Yeah, or saying I'm scared.
Yeah.
Or like, or I'm worried, or this keeps popping up in my head that this is going to happen, and I can't stop it from thinking that, communication. And
That's huge. And for a long time, I was afraid this is like
to
way
communicate.
back then. I was afraid. Yeah. I was afraid to communicate when I was afraid or uncertain or whatever else, because I didn't want to look bad.
Well, either that or you didn't want to be like rejected.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, you're stupid. What are you worrying about? Or that's stupid. Or like.
And I'm talking like from when I was young.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, I was afraid. I didn't want to look bad. I wanted to look like I had all the answers. I wanted to. I didn't want to look weak or stupid or whatever else.
Yeah.
And so I didn't speak up. I didn't communicate that I was afraid or nervous or. And then as I've gotten older and I've started to do that, it's been a completely different experience than what I had anticipated. It's been positive. It's been better. I can relate better with people, when I say I'm scared or I need help or.
Well, it kind of helps you work through it too.
Absolutely.
Like, once you admit it, then you kind of realize it, or you accept it, or it can kind of help.
Yeah, and the intensity dissipates.
Is there anything else in your life that you think? There was a few things that popped up when you were talking that, our parents are getting older. And that's like a fear that I have a lot. Like one of them's going to pass away or get sick or, or like I'm going to be at work one night and get a call that one of them got in a car wreck or, and I've over the years, I've kind of learned to just like accept that that's a possibility. They're older, they still like to be out, late at night on the weekends. So it's like I've kind of accepted the fact that that's a possibility. So that's kind of helped my worry with some of that. But then it's still watching your parents, they're not the same people that they were when you were growing up, does kind of make you worry and have some fear. But so that can be a tough one to work through.
Yeah. And that's really, there's really nothing you can do.
No, and I think that's what you have to realize is that it's inevitable, and that doesn't mean you have to like it or enjoy it, but you kind of have to accept it, or it's just going to eat you up.
Yeah. So you didn't know me during this time.
You don't know me?
You don't know me. You didn't know me when I was worst case scenario Stephanie. But I worried about everything. I saw all of the outcomes more of the negative outcomes than the positive outcomes.
Yeah.
I would go to work every day, worried that I left my curling iron on and that my dog was going to die in a fire. Every day. Every day.
Well, you still worry about leaving your curling iron on.
Well, I take pictures now. I
Yeah.
outsource
You still
my
take
anxiety.
pictures?
Yeah, I took one this morning. And I looked at it.
How many times have you looked at it?
Just
once.
once. Yeah. I worried about that. I worried about driving. I worried about I just worried about a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried several times and it worked every time to some degree, but not fully, to just like give my worry to someone else, a higher power.
Yeah.
And say, you take it. I can't do it. And that worked, just like I said, to some degree, not fully.
Mm-hmm.
My dad said that was something that worked for him, so I gave it a go.
That's good advice, though.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. He's like, my dad.
Just letting go.
Yeah, my dad's Catholic, and, he said that when he was, I think it was, maybe he was in high school, he was young, but he worried a lot. And he said, God, just take my worry. I'm going to let you handle it. You know better than I do. I'm just going to give it to you, and I'm not going to worry about it anymore. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to go move forward, but I'm going to let you handle all this worry. So, and that worked for him. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's worked for a lot of other people too.
Yeah.
To some degree, it's worked for me. What really helped me was going through some really terrible times where I had to surrender.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a choice. Like maybe in those moments and previously I had really strong anxiety and strong, depression or strong, whatever it was, but I wasn't ready to fully surrender. I didn't fully surrender in those moments. And, going through some really hard emotional times, like just saying, okay, I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like just getting to the point where, and you probably experienced this too, that's why you're sober, right?
Yeah.
Just getting to that point where it's like, I can't exist in this way anymore, right? And I have to just surrender and let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And then what helped me is meditation.
Yeah. And that can help a lot.
Mm-hmm. That's what really helped me kind of overcome that. Mm-hmm. And just kind of be more in the present moment and not living in the past or the future, pulling myself back
Mm-hmm.
into that present moment. So you're familiar with that fear, surrendering.
Yeah. Which, in other ways, but
yeah,
maybe the fear too. One of the things, I had a very irrational fear when I got, it was like when I got sober, for some reason, when I would drive and drive in Columbus on highways, I would get almost like panic attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, there was no explaining why. That was something I had to work through in early sobriety. I pretty much had to force myself to drive on the highway, and over time it just forcing myself to do it, talking myself through it while I was doing it. Eventually that anxiety and those panic attacks and fear went away. So
mm-hmm.
that's just an example of having an irrational fear,
mm-hmm.
which I think I've heard of a lot of people having that anxiety when driving or driving on the highways, but sometimes, you do have to face your fears and just push yourself to do it, talk yourself through it. And once you do it and realize it's not going to hurt you, you can accept it.
Yeah.
It's funny, or not funny, but you were talking at the beginning of the podcast, you were saying I don't know if it just comes with age and you start to calm down or you start to accept things more, but that's not necessarily true. There's a lot of people older or who are stuck in their behaviors. Mm-hmm. And you were just mentioning how there were times in your life that forced you to surrender, but not everybody surrenders, or not everybody gives in to those. They just keep living the same way and they can easily be miserable or grumpy or angry. I mean, there's a few people off the top of my head I can think of.
Yeah.
But so no,
That's
I don't.
A good point.
Yeah,
That's
I don't think it is something that comes with age. I think it's something that comes with experience.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I mean, and you probably think of some older people who just like probably been stuck in their behaviorisms for years, and nothing has changed, and nothing's going to change, and they're not happy, or they're not, so. Because you were talking in the beginning, maybe like being able to get through the fears and being calm. I think it is something that comes with self-awareness and self-acceptance and trying to, I don't want to say be a better person, but not wanting to like be in pain or uncomfortable. So yeah, I think maybe it seems like it's all the older you get, but I think it's like the more you practice doing it, it gets easier when you get older. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because you do see, I mean, it has to be a conscious choice.
Yeah. With people, so many people are stuck in their way, and they don't even realize it either. They don't realize how they're coming across, or their demeanor, or the energy they're putting out there.
Yeah.
Nor do they probably want to realize it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, even if it was pointed out, it wouldn't be something that would be received.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. We talked about fear a lot, and we've been all over the place, but...
Yeah, but in general, I think, fear is something... You had all those acronyms at the beginning. Yeah. Some I had never heard of before. There are lots of different reasons for fear and lots of different ways to get out of it.
Yeah.
But kind of like what we were just talking about a few minutes ago, being willing to... Confront it consciously and looking at why and what's going on. And even revisiting past experiences and saying, okay, well, I went through that experience. Did I come out okay? Am I still alive? Am I still, how did I come out on the other side? Everything was fine, right? So that's the reality that I can look at. Not to say that anything can't happen, but that's the reality I can build my foundation on.
And some stuff, it's good to have a backup, like the business strategy, Other things you got to look in, like with the driving, right? Like, is this rational? Is it irrational? Is this something to really, like, if I had a fear, like, if I walk in the woods, like, a bear's going to jump out and kill me or something. Any woods I go into, and it's like, is that really rational? Like,
right.
So figuring out if the fear is a rational fear or not. And the irrational ones you can work yourself through, and you can tell yourself that's not going to happen. Now, if there's more irrational fear, you might need to do a little bit more steps. But yeah, I mean, talking to someone about it. But,
and a lot of people mistake fear and intuition.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And that can be a whole nother conversation in and of itself. But high level, fear is going to feel very activated in your body, right? So for me, fear feels prickly, anxiety feels prickly in my body. Intuition feels calm.
Okay.
Right? So it could be, this is something bad that's going to happen, or this is going to happen, or something good's going to happen. It doesn't matter like what it is, but intuition feels calm, and fear and anxiety feel prickly.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And, it feels different for everybody. So I just encourage people to just work with their fear, work with their intuition, and
get to know the feeling.
Yeah. Get to know the feeling in the body.
I'll have to think about that. It gives me something to think about.
There you go. Think away. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. And if you have a suggestion for us on what you want to hear us talk about, let us know.
Yeah.
And talk soon.
Yeah. See you.